Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausan Pereira. India has only 1 decade to change its status into a developed country and will need to focus on education, failing which the much-hailed demographic dividend will turn into a disadvantage, a report said on Wednesday. If India is not able to get its act together, it will never be able to go into the developed group of nations, the report by the research wing of the country's largest lender, SBI, warned. The report said that the government and policymakers will have to focus on the young people to ensure they become good citizens and invest in education in order to achieve the objective and realize the demographic dividend. The population growth trend indicates that incremental population growth has been stagnant in the last 2 decades at approximately 18 crores, and fertility rates are quite diverse across states. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will discuss what needs to be done to ensure that India is a developed country within the next 10 years. Joining me on the program today are Shankar Aggarwal, former Urban Development Secretary, Government of India, and TK Arun, editor opinion, The Economic Times. Thank you to both my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Mr. Aggarwal, let me start with you first. If you put the SBI report into perspective, it's talking about how the next 10 years are extremely crucial for us to be a developed country. What do we need to do to ensure that the next 10 years are fruitful?
This window of opportunity, which is of 10 years period, is extremely crucial for us. And as you know that we have got about 450 million people, about 45 crore people, who are in the age range of say 1 to 20. Now, if we do not take advantage of this demographic dividend right now, we'll miss the bus. And when we say that this group of young people is going to be the engine of growth, this will only happen when we are able to impart good quality skills and good quality of knowledge to them. Otherwise, this group, instead of becoming an asset for the country, will become a liability. And education or capacity building or skill building is a very, very difficult process and a slow process. So, we had to put our best foot forward to ensure that all these 450 million people get suitably educated. And educated does not mean only literacy. Education means basically we have to change their mindset. Instead of acquisition, in India, the main focus is on acquisition of knowledge and not on application of knowledge. That we have to change.
Okay, we need to change the entire education system is what Mr. Aggarwal is suggesting. TK Arun, do we have the wherewithal to deal with this problem and really ensure that it is the population, the young population that we have indeed is a demographic dividend?
At the outset, I do not agree that we have just a 10-year window to become a developed country. On what basis is this 10 years stipulated? See, the population is actually quite varied in India. As you said in your opening remarks, the fertility rates range from say 1.6 in the southern states to extremely high 3.5, even 4 in some northern states. Because of which, the demographic dividend in India is not as steep as it has been in some countries. It's not been as short, will not be as short as it has been in many countries, will be more staggered and long lasting in India because of this regional variation fertility rates. Now, whether, and there are other factors, artificial intelligence is coming into play, which will allow people to be productive perhaps much longer than they used to be in the past, or it could kill jobs. One doesn't really know how it will play out. So, you cannot have a projection from the past and say that we have just 10 years. That's not correct. Second,
but are these 10 years crucial?
Of course, these are crucial. Now, we have been doing not a great job, but we are not doing as bad a job as many people think also. The Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan and the Right to Education Act, etc., have pushed people into the school system. Now, there are no young children who are outside the school. Most of them are in school. Now, are they learning what they need to learn in schools? Actually, no.
Yeah, so that's the major criticism, because they are factories. They are not really, teaching the children anything.
Then once people complete their +2 at the school level, how many go to college? This is actually a crucial indicator when it comes to the knowledge economy.
And how many can actually get into good colleges? You look at the cutoffs today. I mean,
we don't have good colleges. When I was a student, somewhere in prehistory, people came to Delhi only when they wanted to their post-graduation or PhD. Now, from most parts of the country, the students who aspire to do very well come to the capital even for their graduation. This is because there is a general decline in the standard of teaching at college level in many of the most states. So, but at the same time, the proportion of students who after completing +2 went on to join college was as low as 10%, I'd say 15 years ago. It climbed to more than 20% 4 years ago. So this is a good development. Then again, are we able to make use of the opportunity of having students in a college classroom to make them creative, knowledgeable people who can produce a new knowledge and new economic activity? Again, there are serious shortcomings. Some of the oldest colleges in this country, whether in Gujarat or in Orissa, are teaching thousands of students with 12 and 16 permanent faculty members. There is a serious shortage of teaching staff across the country. You cannot have a quality education system depriving colleges and institutions and depriving students of teachers and of quality teachers. Of course, the thing has to start with the school. And as Mr. Aggarwal said, there are serious problems in our attitude to knowledge. We believe that our job is to master pre-existing knowledge and not to create new knowledge. So this is not just a question of the schools. We are a hierarchical society where questioning authority is discouraged because it might upset the entire social system, social order. No, so many things have to change. The more democratic we are, the more true we are to the constitutional ideal of liberalism and equality, the greater will be our society's ability to actually realize its potential as a knowledge economy. So that is also as important as quality of teaching.
Okay, let me take the point that you're making to Sushma Yadav, Professor Public Policy and Governance, IIPA. She joins us on the phone line right now. Professor, a lot needs to be done is what both the panelists on the program are suggesting. Where do we start?
Already started, and I speak about it as a member of UGC also. The MHRD has already started focusing on learning outcomes, which will improve the school education. I agree with the concern of the panelists who are there with you, and that concern is in the minds of all the policy makers at the moment, and therefore learning outcomes are one where we are focusing on this. For a few years in recent past, we had allowed everyone to pass through, which created almost an anarchic situation in school education. And of course, we enrolled more students, but we didn't get the results that we really wanted to. And therefore, I think now we are trying to have some kind of retention policy, which may be debatable, but we have to have some quality control. So learning outcomes, retention policy for school education. In higher education also, we are trying to have new kind of practices entering in, and innovations are one. Incubation centers in science and even ideas for the society. The universities are also encouraged, and even colleges are encouraged to have more interaction with society. We are also trying to encourage skills. You will be surprised to know, I don't think very many of us know, in our close by Gurgaon and Faridabad and Palwal, the Haryana government has just decided to open. One is Vishwakarma Skill Education, the other is Complete Science and Technology University. So we are trying to have specialized universities also. I would not say that 10 years are crucial, every year is crucial, but this 10 years is not the limit for us. And of course, we have to work hard every year towards.
Professor, point taken, but a quick interjection. Opening specialized universities, opening specialized schools is all well and good, but the quality also matters at the end of the day.
It does. I completely agree with you. And I think once we open, then quality parameters and quality control and benchmarking also needs to be done. And I think they're working on the benchmarking also. If you look at the UGC regulations in last 1 year, you'll find we've worked very hard to control the quality or upgrade the quality of teaching as well as research through more and more lifelong learning centers, the human resource development centers in different universities, and also the research control. We've given names of journals which have been recognized by the UGC, which is a very cumbersome exercise, of course, but we're trying to control the research. And then, the entry of teachers with PhDs maybe surely improve the quality of teaching here. And we are also introducing compulsory induction courses for university teaching, which was not there till now because we are expanding. Expansion takes it all on quality for some time. But I think we will be able to ensure quality after this expansion, which was needed for our society because of the demographic dividend.
Point taken. Okay, I was talking about demographic dividend. Mr. Aggarwal, is there a serious scare that the demographic dividend can turn into a disadvantage?
Yes, there's no doubt that if we do not impart good quality skills and good quality knowledge, this will become a disaster.
Should we? The report, of course, talks about overhauling the education system, how something needs to be done at the earliest. It talks about teachers, it talks about salaries and go on. It goes on to talk about a lot of things. But should the focus only be on education, or should we also focus on other things to ensure that India is a developed country?
Oh yes. The first, I said, skills and education is one part, and second is infrastructure. Unless we take care of our infrastructure, whether it is a school infrastructure, whether it is the quality of teachers, whether there is a content, and secondly, in the otherwise physical infrastructure, so that students can reach in time, they can reach the university and the colleges without any hassle, and that kind of thing.
TK Arun, as far as some of the other sectors are concerned, what do you believe are most important, and what do you believe that we should focus on?
See, being a developed country is not just a question of, knowledge or income even. We have a situation today where people are being lynched because some WhatsApp messages have come saying that these are child lifters or they're cattle smugglers. People are physically caught hold of, beaten up and killed. Now, this doesn't happen in a developed country, right? So, you need governance. You need some institutional mechanism for mutual trust and respect in society. You cannot make some group an object of hatred and try to mobilize political opinion and support on the basis of that hatred. This kind of politics will destroy our country. It will prevent us from realizing our potential. Now, universities, these should be places where freedom of thought and expression should be encouraged rather than restrained by being labeled anti-national. Now, today if we look at our campuses, all campuses are unhappy. There is unrest, there is all kinds of protests by teachers and by students and other sections of the college community.
But there is a red line that you shouldn't cross at the end of the day.
What is the red line?
That has to be demarcated.
So what is the red line is when in Oxford or Harvard or any of these places which are considered to be paragons of academic freedom and achievement. No, you need to have freedom of thought and expression. Trust the students and the faculty and their collective good sense to prevail rather than the stray voice of insanity and nonsense. That will not prevail. What will prevail is ultimately the collective good of society. We must trust that and we must foster that. Instead of we try harping on some stray mistakes here and there, the entire society will go astray. Now, apart from infrastructure and education and healthcare and governance, these are the things that need to develop. We need institutions. Institutional capacity must develop and they must be respected and they must be allowed to function, fully articulate their basic purpose. The courts, the legislature, the civil service, instead of being politicized, the police, the criminal justice system, all these must actually work as they are designed to work in the Constitution. If we just retain a shell of a formal structure of the Constitution and in the working drain it of all its essential spirit, we will never hope to become a developed country.
Professor, institutions are key and also the social sector on the whole are key if we have to take this country forward. Do you agree with that?
I completely agree with that. And we are moving in that direction only. I think the institutions are being strengthened. And what my fellow panelist, one of the friends, is saying, I don't think it's happening for the first time in India that people are being lynched. It's not this recent development. I think these are the, past heritage which we continue at some places. And freedom of expression should be for everyone, All kinds of views should be really accepted. The only thing we were having in our academic institutions till now was certain kind of ideology was respectable, the others were not. So that is the kind of transition which is taking place, and we must accept it liberally and with open hands and open head also. And so I think we are moving into a direction where we will have much more inclusive society, and we must take all the classes together. I say governance remains important, and you see many archaic laws were dispelled which were continuing till now, and I believe that with less and less laws and more trust in the citizens, we'll be moving towards much better governance, or good governance as we call within quotes. However, lots need to be done, I would agree, but we must think positive towards that direction. And India is such a big country with such a great civilizational legacy that it will need time to change. And that time must be given to the government as well as society.
So you said every year is crucial. The report is talking about 10 years. You're saying that, a lot more needs to be done. By when will this lot more be done?
I think every year we incremental change, and no government now can really ignore this need of change and expansion and progress. So we are moving in that direction. All the educated class in India, the intellectuals or intelligentsia as it is called, you have with you, have to be more cautious and vigilant, and also more liberal and large-hearted, so that we can take people together. And that taking people together and being concerned about each one who is around us, who is deprived because of one or the other reason, must be taken together. Then only we can, really lead to that, developed status as we call. Although I have my own concerns about these, epithets being given, developed, developing, or underdeveloped, etc. Because these parameters were given in certain given time by certain countries or groups of people. I think we need to debate these also.
Sure.
Who defines what's developed and in what given social environment, economic environment, and given resources. A country is called developed because of, certain parameters which were decided by somebody.
I think that's a very valid point raised by the professor. TK Arun, how do you define developed? Developed for you can mean something else. Developed for me can mean something else. It's a subjective term at the end of the day.
It is, but you see, ultimately, society, nature, and individual, they should be able to live in equilibrium. This is actually development. If you can articulate your human faculties and capabilities in a manner that enhances your and collective welfare without harming society and without harming nature, then you are probably developed. Now,
but where does that happen? Isn't it a utopian dream?
It's an ideal. So we are all moving towards democracy. No country is fully democratic. People are moving towards greater and greater levels of democracy. Similarly, countries are moving towards greater and greater levels of development. So nothing is absolute. No, there is no country which is an ideal. We are a very special country. You must understand. There are so many different languages. India struggles to have a link language in English and in Hindi. But we are an ancient civilization where two classical languages evolved and thrived, Sanskrit and Tamil. In the same region in Tamil Nadu, there were people who were scholars in Sanskrit and were also scholars in Tamil. And they developed their own spiritual, literary, as well as scientific advances in these different languages. We are a very special kind of a culture and civilization, of which many of us unfortunately are neither aware nor proud. Now, this lack of awareness lends itself to exploitation by people who claim they are nationalist and patriotic and think that anything that is not our own is bad and should be condemned. We are Indians with a very rich heritage of which we unfortunately are not aware, At the same time, we are part of the global community of humanity, about whose achievements and about whose values we should also be aware and should try to imbibe. So
we should coexist is what you're suggesting.
not only coexist, we should seek for that collective humanity that Tagore spoke about, and in which we play our own role in enriching that humanity. We are not just passive recipients of somebody else's values and wisdom and material goods and technology. We are also people who will contribute and enrich collective existence.
Sure.
So this must be our vision of development. This must be what we strive to achieve.
Sure. Mr. Aggarwal, with changing times, the skill sets also change. You need to adapt. You need to evolve. Are we doing that at a fast enough pace? And how do we evolve? Really?
As the professor has said, that we have taken some initiative, and we have taken those initiatives in the right direction. However, that sense of urgency I do not observe, especially in the area of quality of education. And unless we take care of quality education, the quality health services, access to good quality water supply, electric supply, access to fuel, access to food, what we are talking about a developed society means that everyone has got access to good quality health services, good quality education, food, shelter, fuel, and these kind of things.
Something that we see in the Scandinavian countries.
Is missing even now. And that you said that this opportunity of 10 years, it can be 15 years or 20 years at best, but we have to work very, very hard, and we have to work very quickly. And if we don't do that, we'll miss the bus.
So the time to act is now, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Okay. Professor, as far as the issue or the issue of development itself is concerned, do you believe that the answer to all our problems is good quality education?
I think good quality education is very important, but sustaining our environment and sustaining our ecosystem and sustaining our indigenous knowledge systems is equally important. I'm quite surprised at times, we are taking the same path to development which the so-called developed world has taken. And now they have come to the conclusion that sustainable development goals remain important for the whole world because they had developed at the cost of environment, at the cost of ecology, and ultimately the ecosystem completely. So I think we have to redefine these ways towards development. We also have to redefine our perspective of development, and Scandinavian countries can't be our model. They are good because they have their own resources and less human burdens on them. But we have to, I think, evolve our own ways towards development. And therefore, these parameters, I would again say, need to be checked again. And I think our own economists, sociologists, and I think political scientists or social scientists all have to work on this and find our path to development. Why should we take the same detour and then come to the conclusion, oh, this was not the right path?
Right.
As I say, the tribal development is a misnomer. The tribes had wonderful way of living with nature. We are disturbing them, then we are displacing them, then we are saying, oh my God, they have not developed. So please, we have to look at it. But of course, in city life and in urban life, we have to ensure the basic amenities. Education and health are among them. And I still won't say there's no urgency. The governments are looking at it with urgency. Only thing is, you can't change the systems overnight in such a huge country and with such diverse population and regions around.
Points taken.
That time we need to understand. That time we need to give them.
Let me get in a quick closing comment from TK Arun now, concluding remark on the program.
So the big thing that has changed is actually our politics. Politics determines the quality of everything else. Why is our school education so bad? If teachers are paid well, actually they are. So the government teachers are very well paid. And if they don't teach well, why is that? It's because of bad politics. You need an administrative structure and accountability systems which allow local communities to make sure that the money they spend on teaching actually goes into teaching. So there it is politics. Now, if money is lost in building infrastructure because of corruption, it is bad politics. If politics is based on mobilizing people by casting them as in the role of enemies, part of your own population, that is bad politics. That is destroying society.
Sure.
So if politics is cleaned up away from patronage and identity, then half your battle is won.
Okay. All right. On that note, then, we'll call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. That's it from me. See you again next time.